Welcome back. Today we're going to make Pop-Tarts. This was a request and I thought, well, we're going to try and make healthy Pop-Tarts, and I'm not really sure what a healthy Pop-Tart is. So we're just going to make Pop-Tarts with some homemade jam, and I think you're going to love it. It's super simple. There are two ways to do this. Let's go to our recipe first. And we can start with either one package of store-bought pie crust or one homemade crust. And I will have the recipe for that online. And then just the jam of your choice, about a heaping teaspoonful, about 425 in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So this is what I'm doing today for simplicity. I used one of the pie crusts for the Pillsbury pie crust. You can find it in the refrigerated section at Walmart or your grocery store. And as I said, I will give you a recipe only online for a homemade pie crust, which will be a little bit more effort, but I think it'll be worth it. So let's start with the pie crust. I opened it up. I've laid it out flat, and I'm going to just roll it out a little bit. You don't want to leave it as thick as this is. If it's that thick, I think it's going to be way too thick for your Pop-Tart. The idea is just to get it about an extra 2 inches on each side. So we have, looks to me like about a 14-inch pie crust, 14 inches in diameter. So now we're going to take and cut it. And I did a couple different sizes on my first batch, and 4x6 is way too big. I think the average Pop-Tart is about 3x5. So let me grab my cutter, which I don't know where I put it. So I'm going to use a knife. Let's start with this. So we're going to do, what you want is 2 rectangles that are going to be exactly the same size. And this makes it really easy. I just cut off the edge, and then I look at it and I kind of go straight across. You can use a ruler if you want to be a little bit more accurate, but for simplicity's sake, this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, and here we go. That look about the size of a Pop-Tart. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to take this piece and put it on my parchment paper that's on top of my cookie sheet, and I'm just going to lay that guy right down there. The first thing we're going to do is just make one of them, just to give you an idea. Make it really simple. You can probably get, about 3 out of this one little pie crust. So that looks like that's about, yeah, those look about like matching. So now, see how simple this is. I have some really nice strawberry jam that I made this summer, and it's nice and chunky, about a little bit more than a tablespoon. This one's kind of big. And just spread it out a little bit. Don't go to the edges. Keep it pretty much in the center, because it will spread itself as it warms up. And this next step is super important. Take your water and your pastry brush and wet your pastry around the edges. Why do we do that? We do that so the top part will stick. This kind of loosens the gluten. It kind of serves as a glue. So here we go. You can use egg if you prefer. But I know some of you don't eat eggs, so we're just going to do it with water. It works just as well. Now you're going to take your top piece, lay it right on there, match the edges. I would just kind of pinch those sides down teeny tiny bit just to get it in place. Then take a fork. You've got your fork with the tines, and you're going to go around and press it down. And make sure you're getting both pastries, because if you don't seal it, the jelly will run, or the jam will run right out, and you don't want that. It makes a mess, and then it's not inside where you want it to be. Let's do this side. All the way around. And just like a pie, as soon as you're done sealing the edges, you have to poke some holes so all the air doesn't get trapped. And I think, don't go all the way down to the bottom, because you don't want the jelly going down through the bottom. But this is how I'm going to do it, because I think this is how the Pop-Tart looks. I really can't remember. Now, the next thing you do, if you want to, you can take a little bit of water and use your pastry brush once again. Just kind of lightly coat it with water. This is also, like I said, you can do that with egg. It'll give it a different kind of coating. And then I would sprinkle a little bit of sugar, because the first ones I made, I didn't do this. It just wasn't as pretty. This is kind of gives it a little bit of crunch on top and super sweetens it. This is your Pop-Tart. And you can make at least 3 out of this dough by, shifting and re-rolling. I'm not going to waste your time doing that right now. I'll let you do that yourselves. But I think that looks pretty good. So I have an oven preheated to 425, and I'm going to pop this in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. Let me set it in there now. And then I'm going to bring the one I made earlier this morning to show you. Oh my gosh, I thought this looked pretty good for a Pop-Tart. And you could, it's cooled down, which is good. You don't want to eat it straight out of the oven. It's going to be way too hot. It'll burn. So anyway, you could warm it back up in the toaster oven if you wanted to, but I think I'm just going to take a bite of this. I'm going to crack this little baby right in half. Whoa! Well, that's great. Okay. And there's our Pop-Tart. I'm going to take a little bite of this with the strawberry jam. Oh, I think that's great. I think this is just what Ethan is looking for. So why don't we all try to make these at home with your homemade pie crust or your store-bought pie crust. And we'll meet up on Thursday and see how everybody did. I'll talk to you soon.